Hey, book reader friends, this is Christy with Tatted Reads, and I want to do something I have never done on this channel. We are here almost 2 years now and over 100 videos. I think it's 140 videos. I really would love to do a library tour. My request to you while you're here, don't be too harsh. I have a set number of shelves currently. I do plan on expanding it so that I can get a little better organized, but what I would love from you to do is put in the comments maybe some of your suggestions. I am thinking of adding 2 more shelves so that I can thin some of this out, but I like the shelves full. To fill another 2 shelves, I would need almost 200 more books, approximately, give or take. I'm not gonna go buy 200 more books anytime soon. I do a lot of book hauls. I do buy somewhere between 3 books a month, and sometimes 10 books a month. It just really depends. But that would take me a long time to fill up 2 more shelves so that I can spread these out a little bit. But I'm gonna do my best to record this. Again, I have never done basically like a walking style video. I typically do a talking head from my reading chair. This is gonna be different, so bear with me, please. Be kind. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in and get started on the bookshelves. And again, if this is your first time here, this is Christy with Tatted Reads. If you like this video when we're done, like, subscribe, stick around for the next videos, and let's pray this one goes well. All right, so for here, the first shelf, it started out as romantasy, and then it went into a mystery theme. So we did start a Stephen King shelf, and then we went into some Joe Hill, which is Stephen King's son. And then I have a couple that don't exactly, I don't know where they belong yet because I haven't read them. Red Rabbit Ghost does fit in a mystery section very well. That was actually an interesting storyline. But yeah, most of this started mystery from here, and it just stayed that way, or suspense or thriller or horror, just depending, but somewhere in that general genre. And then we come down to kind of a section that I guess you could say has been kind of still a fantasy section. And then there's some romance in here too, because obviously Emily Henry. I've only read Beach Read. I actually need to read this one. And then we have the Bookshops and Bone Dust. I do have a few special collections there that we have bought through a different ways. Half Price Books was a great way to find actually this one. And then 9 Goblins was absolutely hilarious, and I like seeing that one because it reminds me how funny it was. But then we go down, and these are kind of the books that maybe I don't necessarily want on camera when I film, but they are a bunch of fantasy books that I have. A lot of this is TBR. It's embarrassing to say, but a lot of this entire shelf is TBR, and that goes for all of my shelves. All right, moving on. Here is what got me kind of started in reading. I first started off with like Hiawatha and Pocahontas, and then later we moved into bigger books and then came on into Nancy Drew. Won't lie, I've read those as an adult and they are very difficult to read now. Poppy War, I will say book 3 is coming out this year in the special edition, so that's exciting. So after the Poppy War, I like some things on display. In fact, I'll just go ahead and show you. Red Rising, City Brass, For Whom the Bell Tolls, both of these I need to read. Alchemized, and then Catabasis. Catabasis I need to read, but that's sometime later this year, I hope. This shelf was just fun. It became romantasy, fantasy, but I liked it because it turned out to be an almost all black shelf. I do have some shelves that are dedicated to certain things. We'll get into that as we go. Again, this is kind of a hodgepodge shelf. As you can see, it is definitely, different genres thrown in here, but it was hardbacks, and I do like to keep my hardbacks together. For me, that's more important than genre matching. I like to match the author with either hardback or softback. That tends to be how I go. I do like keeping all my author things together. That doesn't always work out. Again, a hodgepodge shelf, but it's hardback that does have some suspense and mystery and thriller, definitely with Riley Sager. Joe Hill's King of Sorrow, not gonna touch on that one. Haven't read He Who Fights with the Monster or with Monsters. That is book 1 that just came out. I'm very excited for it. Haven't read this one either. A lot of this again is TBR. I've heard great things about Artificial Wisdom, but I have not read it. Devils, I have put on a soft DNF. I will come back to that. I hope, again, another one I hope to come out this year and get on. Let's see. And then we come on down, and this is my book of the month here and here. The book of the month books that I've purchased. I'm very excited about this Fonda Lee because I'm on Jade City currently that I want to do a video on and a review for you. I absolutely understand that this book is going to be quite different in the fact that it's a standalone versus the Jade City being a series and a few other things that makes this one quite different than Jade City. But I love her writing in Jade City so much that I am very much looking forward to this one. This one is, speaking of Silver Elite, was a book of the month. This is the only book on my shelf, that Broken Dove, in this section that isn't a book of the month. I unfortunately didn't get to match those. This was just fun because they were all red. But yeah, there's definitely some books in here I have not read, I must admit. But what I like about Book of the Month is that I get to experience new books, new authors, new genres. It's fantastic for that. Now we're at, I would say, the pride and joy of my bookshelves. And I've only read one trilogy so far within the Elden Ring series. I am so looking forward to moving on to the next trilogy. But in the meantime, this is still my pride and joy. I went crazy and bought the whole thing right away. I have bought the special editions of the first three. The Farseer trilogy, they're so beautiful. There's images inside. They're just gorgeous. And then, yeah, we've got everything. They're all waiting for me to finish reading and continue on the saga. But I absolutely love Robin Hobbs. I love her writing style. And I also love the narration of her books. They're very easy to listen to while you're doing something else. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, can you tell what book is missing from this section? Jade City is missing. So I'm reading Jade City currently. What I do is I read the book and I tend to, on Kindle, and then I tend to mark the book up as well. So that book is downstairs currently, but this series right here got me into sci-fi so hard. Absolutely love. Favorite book of the series, without a doubt. Cannot wait for book 8. I'm just like, take your time. Excuse me, book 7. Take your time, make it good, and close it out well. So I'm fine with waiting. But I will say this ended on a way that I was just like, ah, no, he didn't do that. So here we go, you know, waiting for the next book to decide, you know, how it's going to get handled and resolved. I have not read this one. Jade City is fantastic so far. This book got me in, these books got me into urban fantasy just off of book 1 that I'm currently reading. Absolutely hooked. I have so much to say about that series. I have not read. I will say this book was hilarious. When I got this, it took us so many copies to order because the top little marker here kept being printed off the page, and it was so bad that I couldn't take it. So we kept ordering the book and returning the book until we got it right. I've kept the Poppy War. That's one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. The reason why I've kept it in paperback, my daughter bought me this one. I absolutely read these first. I haven't read the special editions as far as like reread it, and I've only looked through them. I've just got them for display. These actually mean a lot to me. So I hold on to those quite literally probably for the rest of my life. And then here's some more books. I have an Orbit shelf. They are all fantasy. I have read out of this series, or out of this shelf, I have read these 3 books. I love Sam Sykes. I don't foresee him really putting out much else anytime soon. However, these 3, if you want a very witty, smartass main protagonist that is a female, go with this one. Have not read. I have read Blade itself. It is time to get on to book 2. I made the mistake of switching over to listening to the Blade itself, and I started getting confused on who everyone was. So book 2, I'd actually need to make time to read and not listen to. And then a couple of standalones that I have. The Book of Fallen Leaves, I've done a review on that one. That was fantastic. That just released this year. Absolutely great. And then our last shelf on this bookshelf, again, more fantasy, romantasy, books that I have not read, books that I'm looking forward to, books that have been suggested. But again, keeping up with the Orbit for the most part, and paperbacks. I like paperbacks and hardbacks staying together whenever possible. Okay, so now we're gonna go on to the next shelf. My fear about getting into this corner is that you're gonna see shadows because I'm standing in front of my light, and I hope not, but if it does become a shadowy situation, I apologize deeply, but I do wanna continue on. So the first we're gonna see on this shelf is all my Loot Crate books. I haven't bought a lot. I do have some more coming this month. I had stopped it when we moved from Texas to South Carolina, so that this way books wouldn't get stopped or lost in transit, so to speak. But there's definitely some absolutely gorgeous additions here. See if you can get in there. That I'm looking forward to. I have not read, let's see. Nope, haven't read a single book in this, but we're gonna get there, I promise, I promise. It was just that I wanted the special editions, and I actually got lucky with Gods Below. I didn't know that was a special edition that was coming, and that was one of my first, I think maybe even my first book I got through Fairy Loot, and I was so excited, I squealed. I absolutely love them, and I do appreciate that they put barcodes on their books because you can scan them into LibBib or whatever other app service you use to log your library. All right, moving on a little further. This has become my, I'd say mostly sci-fi section for my understanding. The series that I have not read is more fantasy for Adrian Tchaikovsky. I am very excited about getting on it. I have started with Elder Race. That was my first book of his. Freaking loved it. Spiderlight was interesting. I almost didn't finish Spiderlight. If you've watched that video, I almost didn't finish it, but I'm very glad I did. It was fantastic. It was kind of like Elder Race and Nine Goblins, where you couldn't help but to love the characters, and the travel that goes along with it. It was very entertaining. But these are all books that I need to finish reading as well. All right, what library would be complete without a Brandon Sanderson shelf? Now, if you've watched my videos, you will know that I have not reviewed Brandon Sanderson because I bought the box set and have not read this. I bought the box set because I knew I wanted to. I started reading The Way of Kings, absolutely was enthralled, but I must say something came out and interrupted me reading this, so I've got to get back on it. I did read this one here. I never get this one right. The Frugal Wizard Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. Was not a fan, but because I like to keep my series and my authors together, I've kept the book, but really it could have been donated. The main character was a little whiny for me, an excuse for everything, everyone else's problem. Tress of the Emerald Sea, my absolute favorite of what I have read by Brandon Sanderson, which isn't saying much. I've only read 3 things so far, so I can't really brag too much, but this was very sweet, absolutely beautifully written. And I would even say a fantastic intro to fantasy books. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, I loved it. I might have given this a 4-star rating, which is a great rating, but it wasn't my favorite. It was all right, but it was definitely better than this one. Sunlit Man, I have not read, and keep on going. One of these 2 will be this year for absolute sure, but it will probably continue to grow. His writing is a little softer for me, and I like a little edge to my writing. All right, know absolutely nothing about this series, but most of the shelf is fantasy, action-packed, and out of it, I've read Bone Ships. It was pretty good. I made the mistake probably of listening to it instead of reading it, and I can say it probably took me out of the book a little bit more than I'd like to be. So I've put some distance between me and book 2 so that I have time to kind of lose my jaded feeling about it. Haven't read, I'm so excited about getting on these. Loved Project Hail Mary. I did the audiobook instead of reading the book, and I can honestly say that saved the book for me. I don't think I would have liked it had I read the book. That's an unpopular opinion, but I do think what is popular is to say that Project Hail Mary was a fantastic narration. All right, moving on to the last shelf of this bookshelf. Lock and Key was an all-time favorite comic series that I was reading. Ended up watching the show, loved. Again, this is a fantasy section for the most part. This is books that I don't really care to display for everyone to see, so they're on the bottom shelf. That's the way a lot of my bottom shelves go. Read both of these, read this one. And they're just books that I may not touch again, or they're just very simple reads and I don't want to touch on them very often. So they're down there on the bottom, but I will get to those too soon. Okay, so one thing you may have noticed is that I have a huge TBR, physical TBR. And some of that started because I wanted to fill my shelves up so that they would have books on every single shelf. Originally, I think I had 4 shelves and it has grown, so my TBR has also grown. I will get to these books. Last year was my year to at least start the book 1 of every series I owned. This year, I would like to go back and get to book 2, but we're getting there. This shelf is more of kind of a hodgepodge fiction, literary writings. You'll see James Baldwin here because I love James Baldwin thanks to school, but there's many books that I actually have never touched here, and then some that I have, and I look forward to getting into, and I just want to see them. So they're on the top shelf to remind me to get to them. Here's a couple books that I bought from a book sale. It's Jane Austen and Henry James, and I just thought they were cute. So they really became more of a display book than any book to actually ever read. Okay, so shelf 2 is again more romantasy. Most fantasy for me is so much romantasy. I understand it's its own genre, speaking of romantasy, but so much fantasy has at least a little bit of romance in it. It doesn't take away from it all the time for me unless it's an academy or a school. I am ready to read more about adults, and I've been thankful to Jade City for that because it's brought me back to adult reading and reading about adults. So I am having fun there, and while I have not left my home of fantasy books, I will have to say I'm ready to step away for a little while and explore what else I might like. But there are some fantastic releases this year. I'm really looking forward to The Bargain with Mortals. This cover is just so beautiful. It just shines. I'll put it here for now and I'll refile that later so I don't tear it up. But there's been a few books that I've bought because of recommendations this year, and then some that I just bought because I really wanted to read, especially To Bleed a Crystal Bloom. The cover was so beautiful. I wasn't gonna buy it, and then I went back like 3 different times and finally just like, screw it. I like occasional Western. It's really weird that I like that, but I do. I like assassins, occasional Westerns. I like a female lead. Technically, this book was a male lead, even though there's a female on the cover, but there was a prominent female, as I would say, a secondary character. And then, of course, more books that have been highly recommended this year, highly recommended sometime in the last couple years, and I want to get to those too. This whole shelf, again, mostly books I haven't read. Okay, anybody that likes romantasy has a Sarah J. Maas section on their shelves. I'm going to have an unpopular opinion here. I probably could do an entire video on this, but The Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, those books are my favorite. Despite the fact that I love Crescent City, I love the ACOTAR series, and 2 more books coming out in the next several months between, I think it's October and January. I do have a huge fear of those covers not matching the covers I bought. Let's hope that we all get to match our covers. But I absolutely love an Assassin series, and this was my absolute favorite intro to someone I didn't know yet. And I wish with all my heart and soul that she would add more, but I understand that this series is complete, and it is. If you read it or have read it, you feel very content. It is done, but I just enjoyed that world. Here's a few books that are romantasy or extremely explicit. Again, I don't post those on camera for the most part because I don't want my channel to be known for those books. They are ones that I have just kind of explored because of, you know, the talk on booktube about, so I've just added them too. I've only read a few pages of this one. Haven't read. So, well, actually I started listening to this one recently, so that's not totally true, but they're there. And then I have The Study in Drowning. Got these 3 so far. Haven't read them yet, looking forward to them. I've heard great things about that series, actually. This was actually probably my very first honest fantasy series that I ever got into. I love a female lead Western. Gunslinger was fantastic by Lindsay Ellie. I loved it. It was fun, it was interesting. A whole underground type gang situation, fantastic. Haven't read these. I only have the black edition because I bought it first. And I was like, wait, Barnes & Noble's was all the pastels. So I had to go back and get this one. I probably will do this one as a giveaway eventually, but it feels weird to give away book 3. Haven't read. I have read these 2. The series started out fantastic, Book 2 for me hit a wall and a little bit of a lull, and I need to read book 3. I'm having a hard time getting on it because book 2 was that slow for me. But the series was fun starting out. Okay, you guys, we are on the last bookshelf, technically. I do have a smaller little 2-shelf tier thing that is like my literary books. I won't go through that one today. This one is my kind of a hodgepodge shelf that is the shelf that I added later. And it's holding kind of things I don't know exactly where to put yet. And some of the books I know I'm going to get rid of. I have an unpopular opinion again. Alchemize. I absolutely love the book as far as the cover. The special edition is gorgeous. I did not care for the book. It was a 2-star rating for me. I might go into that later in another video. However, I do have 2 of those editions. I have 2 of those books. I have a regular edition with the white pages and then a special edition. I will probably do a giveaway on those eventually. Catabasis. We already know I love R.F. Kuang. She was in Texas and I miss seeing her, and I'm really kicking myself now when I lived there not going to see her at a book fair. I really, really, really am upset that I didn't go see her. Alchemize, that's the main original book, the basic white page book. Immortal Longings, I did meet Chloe Gong at a Texas book fair. And then again, it's fantasy books. This one's supposed to be pretty dark. The Between Two Fires. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that book yet. I haven't started it. I'm a little scared of it, but I have it. We're gonna give it a try. The second shelf are books that I've loved in some ways, and some of these are new that I need to read. My favorite Rachel Gillig book of all time is Two Twisted Crowns. That's book 2. I loved it so freaking much. That series was fantastic. I am in love with that duology. Fantastic writing. And I got a few books like these 2 here that are new. I haven't read them. I don't know anything about them. That's hard to say. I read The Red Winter and it was very good. It is definitely a little vulgar, I guess you could say. It depends on how you view very descriptive anatomy and sexual scenes. If you don't like them, this will feel vulgar to you. If it don't bother you, if you read 50 Shades, this will not bother you. It's fine. I read The North is the Night. I read that at Christmas last year. Absolutely loved that book. It was another book where you're traveling through from one place to another is how I'll word that. And I don't always enjoy that, but there were some high stakes in this book and it was very, very good. And it was very enjoyable for the Christmas time because it was a cold space. It was beautiful. This is actually Elliot Brooks's book, Peace and Turmoil. She is a booktuber that I started following one of the first ones I started following when I started watching booktube. So when I found her book at Half Price Books, I had to buy it. I was so excited. Asylum Girls seems like it's going to be similar to a Western slash steampunk. I'm confused by what this book is going to be about. I'm excited. And then for some reason I have Jane in the Year Without a Summer in that mix. It doesn't belong there, which is why I say if you want to put in the comments, you know, what you would suggest about separating the books and organizing them, let me know. I mostly, like I said, do hardback, paperback, and author organization. And then a couple creative books that I need to look at. All right, here is another series I could say helped me stay in the sci-fi section. I have read Empire Silence, Howling Dark. I loved them so much. Yes, I went ahead and went on a tear through Amazon and ordered all the hardbacks. I was so excited. In fact, I had bought the paperback first. I need to donate that or do it as a giveaway. I kind of hate to do the paperback sometimes though, because they don't always hold up, but this one did pretty well. So I like to do giveaways. I like to sell my books sometimes, but that one is probably one I'll do a giveaway on. Then there's a couple new releases that I haven't figured out where to put on my shelves yet. Yesteryear, Into the Blue, both of these come absolutely recommended this year. So I hopped on those. Japanese Gothic is new. Pride and Prejudice in Space. Under the Oak Tree 1 and 2. Book 3 comes out this year. And I think 4 either comes out this year or beginning of next year. But that is it, you guys. That is comics that needs to move to my bedroom shelves. And then I do put like a little fun toys here and there. Things that I've worked on. So you guys, I hope you liked this style of video. It might be a little chaotic, but I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope maybe even you found some books that you wouldn't mind picking up yourself. This is my book tour, my very first one. there might be others in the future, especially as I organize by your suggestions. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye.